What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of ETR's NBA DFS Injury Analysis Show. I'm your host for the second time now, Sam Jaffrinia, joined, of course, by Mike Gallagher. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I almost got through all the minutes that you did the first run through with Chris. Feel we're in a pretty good spot. Wrote matchups last night. Was up till like 1:30. After Adam Lefko gave me a shout out, I kind of give him some point in the right direction on some bets, and he has to bet overs. And I was like, oh, you have to bet the Suns Kings game for the only it's a 6-1 game. So yeah, Lefko's killing it, man. He would have had 3 straight Lefko parlays hit if it wasn't for Chris Middleton getting hurt. So shout out to Lefko, and if he's listening, I really appreciate that. It was my mom was like, "Oh," my dad was like, "Oh, I'm proud of you." But yeah, pretty cool week for your boy. Excited to break down this slate. Let's get to it.
Love to see it. Yeah, like you said, we got a monster, as you can see on the screen. So let's jump right in, and we'll start with the Atlanta Hawks, where Clint Capella remains out, and now Onyeka Okongwu is out now as well. What are your notes for Atlanta?
Yeah, it's a big deal. They're losing the 2 top centers. They are going to have Bruno Fernando. Luckily for them, this is a pretty good matchup to be small. We've seen Grant Williams close a bunch. So the question of the day for us right now, we were just talking about it in our Slack. How many minutes does Bruno Fernando get? The first question is, does he start? And I don't think it's a lock. You normally think, okay, but they almost never go small. But we've seen Jalen Johnson close small. We saw Okongwu got hurt was it last game or 2 games ago, and they closed without him. So they're open to it. And again, who cares about Nick Richards? Like, he's not going to kill you. So I think there's a chance they start Hunter. We've seen Hunter's minutes come back up to pretty close to normal. Not a back-to-back either. So to me, it makes sense to me that they would start Trey, DeJounte, Hunter, Sadiq Bey, and then Jalen Johnson at the center spot. Now, it could be Hunter off the bench. Uh, Quinn Snyder's mentioned that he liked him off that role. So I think that Bruno's the favorite to start, but I think he's a dog to close. I think Hunter closes over him. I think Bogdan closes over him. So we have a little bit of a differing opinion. I'm more in the like low 20s, 23 minute. I don't think he's going to close, but maybe he gets hot and closes. I don't know. So that's a pretty big question of the day. I haven't looked at his prices yet for DFS, but pegging Bruno Fernando's projection in the matchup that you want, Charlotte top 2 matchup for centers. So if you are betting on Bruno, the field's going to have to be, I don't know what his price is, but the field's going to have to be on Bruno. So that's going to be a big sticking point on the slate. And then obviously great matchup. Cody Martin's actually guarded Trey pretty well over his career, but yeah, pretty could be a lot of minutes. Obviously last game, no back to back for the Hawks tomorrow. So it could just be just nuking like crazy minutes here. And the Hawks, of course, and their last, I forget, I don't have the splits. So actually, I could pull it up. I probably shouldn't pull my notes because we can go faster. But while we're here, the last 10 games, they are first in offensive rating, third in half court rating, and then 28th in defense. So great offense, terrible defense leads to great fantasy game environments.
Yeah, for sure, an important projection to get right with Bruno today. Obviously, with the other 2 bigs out, let's move on to their opponent, the Charlotte Hornets, where LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams remain out. Cody Martin is listed probable, and Nick Smith Jr. is available from the G League, although he's been sort of left for dead since the trade. Mike, what are your notes for Charlotte?
The first note is their defense. They've been good. Sure, they played the Grizzlies in their first game with these guys, but they just shut down the Pacers in impressive fashion. The first time they've had 70+ percentile defensive performances back to back games all year. A little bit of hot shooting, a little bit of taking away transition. They're still giving up some rim points. They did play the Pacers, who were top in rim points per game. But yeah, I think this rotation's locked and loaded. Like Nick Smith Jr., we saw him when these guys arrived. He wasn't in the rotation. They played these 9. Clifford's really indicated they're going to keep rolling out these 9 here, not a back-to-back. And as I kind of suggested the last time, that I thought Trey Mann kind of ran bad minutes-wise, and he did not here. 34 in the last game. I think he's got it locked and loaded. Mentioned on the last edition that Steve Clifford said that he wants to develop a rhythm in the first unit, continuing to drive the ball, continuing to dish the ball, flirt with a triple-double. Matchup again, A+. I expect Trey Young to guard Trey Mann for the Trey different spelling matchup. And then, yeah, Martin Smith's been solid. Brandon Miller again kind of got nipped in the bud by foul trouble, and then we'll see if Nick Richards can get minutes. Should mention Grant Williams continues to get minutes at the 5 and continues to score and continues to drive. He's had like a really, really huge role. Talked about this last slate too. So Grant Williams, you didn't think Grant Williams would be a guy that could be a low-key fantasy winner, but he certainly has.
For sure. And yeah, like you're saying, these 29 minutes for Miller, you can see with the 4 fouls. He's just a fouling machine. And hopefully he can, fix that, because it's just you can't get those minutes up when he's constantly fouling. But yeah, we'll see there. Okay, and we'll move on to our next game, Miami at Philadelphia. We'll start on the Miami side, where Jimmy Butler, Josh Richardson, and Terry Rozier remain out, and Duncan Robinson is listed available after he was questionable going into their game last night. What are your notes on Miami?
They kill the Bucks, man. Cooper Moorhead writes for the team. He had a crazy stat I saw yesterday. Since Jimmy joined the team, they've put up 19 threes on the Bucks 6 times. Every other team in the league combined 18. So 28 teams producing 18, and then one team producing 6. They just love shooting threes. I want to pull up see if I have time to do this, but the Duncan Robinson DHO Fest was on display, and he killed. We fired a Duncan over, which cashed in the first quarter, but we also fired a Duncan under, which in hindsight was because they just ran dribble handoff after dribble handoff with Duncan, which actually didn't give like too big of a role for Tyler Hero. He was playing a little bit more off ball than I anticipated. Bam, 7 triple-double of his career. And then, sorry, I'm just trying to get up this. I want to get this DHO number for Duncan. 12 points off handoff. That's insane. 6 possessions for 12 points. That's like the league leader is like 3 or 4 possessions. It's like an insane amount of dribble handoff scoring. So, that's a pretty big deal. And then the other headline here is Nikola Jovic starts, plays great, guards Giannis a little bit, guards Brook a bunch, on fire early, and then just Sun runs his way in an 8-man rotation there. So expect him to start again. Don't have too much to add. They're on a back-to-back going to Philly. Expecting the same 8-man rotation. Maybe Spo adds a little bit to it here, but the minutes were in check. They didn't have to go up too much. We got them to garbage time, so I think they're going to run it pretty much 8 same starters. Jaime Hawkins' minutes were pretty strong. I think he was at 16 first half, so he was looking for low 30s as well. Haywood Highsmith continued to kind of play behind Caleb Martin. And then Kevin Love getting a little bit of overlap with Bam. Against the Sixers defense, it's been absolutely terrible. Let me pull up their stats really quick that I had in matchups. I'm not doing this for every game. But this is an important game to hit. They are – I can't find it. They're bad. They've been bad. And then also I wanted to note one more thing. So usually when they're shorthanded, they play zone. They didn't play zone. They only played 3 possessions of zone. That was pretty unusual. Granted, the Bucks are first in per possession against zone, so that may have been why expecting a little bit more zone here today.
All right, and let's move on to their opponent, Philadelphia 76ers, where their injury report remains very crowded. Joel Embiid, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, DeAnthony Melton all remain out. Tobias has joined them for a second straight game now. He's out, and Kyle Lowry will not be available to make his debut. What are your notes on Philadelphia?
Yeah, so we got to start with the starting lineup here without Tobias and obviously no Embiid. So we saw KJ Martin start as expected, but there was a note after the game that Nick Nurse said they were considering starting Campaign or Ricky Council 4, but they went with KJ because of the size on the other end from the Cavs. Miami's going to play maybe big now, so I would still expect KJ to start, but don't be surprised if you get a curveball there. Obviously, Miami 3-pointers are a thing, so this is prime Buddy Hield spot, prime Kelly Oubre spot. Maxi's gonna have to break down the zone. His minutes are gonna be insane. We have him at 39, and he's probably going to beat that, given the state of this team needing a win against the Miami team that's, I thought was dead. Like this, we talked about the schedule on 2 shows this week, but that was just what a win for Miami, man. That was one of the best ones of the season.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got the New York Knicks at Orlando Magic. We will start on the New York side, where Julius Randle and OG Anunoby remain out, while Bojan Bogdanovic, Dante DiVincenzo, and Isaiah Hartenstein are all questionable. What are your notes on New York, Mike?
Yeah, we got a late addition on Bojan. This is an injury he's suffered before. So, and again, not a back-to-back, but pretty concerning. Minutes are a little bit lighter than we thought. So you could probably nothing from Tibbs. He was just talking about the fouls the whole time. Sorry, Knicks fans, that was brutal. But yeah, he definitely could miss, and they'd be getting pretty thin. I thought Dante's injury looked, not great. And then we were pretty surprised. We were like all expecting Hartenstein to miss. Like, don't just let him heal over the break, man. He's had like, you don't mess around with Achilles soreness. So I think he sits. We saw Jericho Sims start. I'd be curious to see if they do that again. I think they would, given the way that Orlando likes to attack the paint. So Boyan or Dante would start. I think they would honestly play Josh Hart at the 2 and just put a bunch of size out there. We know Orlando's got a lot of size in kind of Franz and Powell as a 3-4 combo. And yeah, that's kind of it. Should see more Burks. They'd have to go more Miles McBride, Deuce McBride overlap as well. So it could get pretty thin here if those 3 guys. We might get minutes Tibbs. I saw someone posted a Valentine's Day card that got retweeted in my timeline with Tibbs and saying it's I'll give you 48 minutes. Like, oh, it's so good. What about
all right. Anyway, all right. Let's move on to their opponents, the Orlando Magic. They're on the second night of a back-to-back, and Markelle Fultz and Gary Harris are listed out. What are your notes on Orlando?
Yeah, no Markelle Fultz there, so we'll see. They usually go to Anthony Black, but I don't know. They might just jump the gun and go to Cole here, or they might shift it up. I don't know. Coming off a loss, that was shout out to me. I was touting all day OKC -2.5. That was a nice little easy win. Love to see it. But yeah, I'm still leaning Anthony Black here. I think they really like him off the bench, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's because there's no Gary Harris too. So that's asking too much for Suggs to me. So I think they bring, outhouse to penthouse for him. And then worth noting, Isaac not listed. So yeah, I think that kind of keeps the rotation kind of sturdy there. But yeah, massive ball handling role coming for Paolo. Missing some key defensive pieces here. It could be a pretty strong Paolo game after getting kind of put in the torture chamber for a pretty good bit in the last game.
All right, let's move on to next game, the Brooklyn Nets at Boston Celtics, which is a rematch of the game from yesterday. We'll start on the Brooklyn side, where Cam Johnson is off the injury report and will make his return, while Ben Simmons has been ruled out. What are your notes on Brooklyn?
Yeah, so we got to start with who starts at point guard here. That's one of the big questions of the day. And based on the sub patterns here from Dennis Schroeder, I would expect him to start. I mean, we see him sub in there and run long rotations. His passing's been pretty good. He's got the drive game that I think Jacques Vaughn really covets. So expecting him to start with Cam Thomas and Mikal Bridges in the backcourt. Obviously, Nick Claxton's going to start. Then the next question, does Dorian Finney-Smith keep his job? We got rug pulled. We thought we had a Dorian over, play 16 first half minutes. They fall behind. They pull him out, and they play Jalen Wilson like out of the blue. Very surprising. Not in the injury report. Trainers didn't look at him. Yeah, that hurt. I thought we had a decent bet there. Did not. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Johnson comes off the bench. We have him capped pretty good. I think we have him at 24 with the blowout. This is a 13-point spread. They're in Boston today, so 4-point swing there spread wise. So yeah, we're kind of leaning Cam Johnson starts. We saw him like get benched earlier, come off the bench earlier, but he's returning from the groin, or I think it was calf injury. So yeah, he's going to be capped. Did run with the Stay Ready group 2 days ago, so they're clearly like being careful with him for a guy who's had like multiple injuries this season. But yeah, watch out for blowout. Obviously, Mikal playing a bunch last time. I'm not ready to say funny business season yet, but it's always on the table that there's, and that was funny business, man. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, after playing 16 first half minutes without foul trouble, getting yanked out of the blue. He bricks a 3, but that's why, I don't know. But anyways, always shenanigans. But bottom line here, think Schroeder's going to start. Think Cam Johnson's going to start.
For sure. And should have noted as well, you see Day'Ron Sharpe made his return last game after he had missed a good bit. He's not on the injury report, so wouldn't imagine they really extended much more than they did last game, but we'll see.
Just to add to that really quick, I mentioned that in the last show that I wasn't worried about his minutes because Jacques Vaughn said he was like kind of like a curveball for coverages. So yeah, he's going to probably be held in check again today to get him to the break.
All right, let's move on to Boston, where Kristaps Porzingis is off the injury report after he missed yesterday's game. Al Horford is out, and Jaylen Brown is listed questionable. What are your notes for Boston?
Yeah, so we got the standard big man flip flop on back to backs. We just basically flipped Al Horford's minutes to Chris Stepp's minutes here, so pretty straightforward. Rotation should look generally the same, assuming Brown's in. Didn't see what happened to Jaylen Brown, but this is a new injury for him, getting a shoulder contusion, so they could sit him back to back. 13-point spread. They still got most of their depth besides Horford here, so probably game time, but not something serious. It would be like a back to back. We've seen Jaylen Brown miss some games back to back for management, so this may just be just a game to get him off. If they sat him, it would likely be Sam Hauser moving into the starting lineup.
All right, let's move on. Our next game is Chicago Bulls at Cleveland Cavaliers. On the Chicago side, Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams remain. Well, Zach LaVine out for the season now. Patrick Williams remains out. Alex Caruso is questionable to make his return after he missed their last game. And Torrey Craig and Dalen Terry are listed probable. Mike, what are your notes on Chicago?
Yeah, so Caruso went through shoot around after getting his foot stepped on a couple games ago, missed the last one, and we saw Torrey Craig not only start, but probably not coincidentally had his minutes cap lifted off him there. So we think he's going to play. It's Alex Caruso. Maybe they play it safe. I think he's going to play, though. If he doesn't play, I actually think they go big. I think they would just start Drummond. We saw the first time they really broke out the Drummond Vooch stuff a month ago, whatever it was, that was against the Cavs. So, like, a part of me, when I was writing matchup lineups, I was like, oh, did they start him over Ayo even if Caruso's in? I thought that was a little too cute, but I think Drummond gets a pretty early sub. I think he's going to play a ton. So that's going to be something we'll talk about on the DFS show. But yeah, expecting Caruso in. I'd assume it. What a game, man. Again, just Hawks killer. Someone kills the Hawks no matter what. I'm curious to see how many career high games have come against the Hawks this year. Most notably Luka Doncic's one. But yeah, shout out to Coors Field of the NBA. But yeah, I think Ayo's kind of earned a pretty. And they'd probably just run it tight, like they, last game before the break, run some huge minutes here. Obviously, matchup is horrendous. Cavs are playing really good defense right now.
For sure, and yeah, like you said, that Drummond overlap with Vooch is going to be, one of the main projection questions of the day. You think of this matchup versus Cleveland, they'd be more open to it, but they just kind of been all 100%. Over the place with it. So
they're gonna. I would be shocked if they don't use it. I'd be shocked if they don't go like 7 minutes or more. Like I think they're gonna run a lot of it.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the Cleveland side, where Darius Garland and Sam Merrill are both listed questionable, and Dean Wade listed questionable after he missed their last game. What are your notes on Cleveland?
Yeah, it looks like Dean Wade got them sick. Late day Q tags or midday Q tags for Darius Garland and Sam Merrill. Never a good sign there. If Garland sits, quite obviously, it would be time for Isaac Okoro to move back in the starting lineup. Obviously, the matchup is A+ for Max Strus against the catch and shoot giver-uppers of the Bulls. And then, yeah, we might be looking to bring Craig Porter Jr. in, and that would kind of help Karis LeVert's minute ceiling quite a bit. He'd be, a decent candidate to close. Minutes cast been off him. He'd be pretty viable as well.
All right.
Got a drag race? Got a drag race going on over there? What's going on?
Is that just yeah, busy day, I guess, on this Valentine's Day outside my apartment. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got the Indiana Pacers at Toronto Raptors. As usual, Indiana is just loaded with injuries. Tyrese Haliburton listed questionable as usual. Benedict Mathurin is questionable. Miles Turner is questionable. And as usual, the G League crew is all questionable. Mike, what are your notes on Indiana?
Yeah, Miles Turner late Q tag. That's a big one here. My computer's running pretty slow. I got to start closing some windows. Let's do that now. So yeah, let's start with Turner. If he's out, G League tracker, they still have Oscar Tshiebwe. He did not play. The G League Mad Ants did not. They played in Nevada last night, and they had to play. They played Jarris Walker, Isaac Wong. So those guys probably aren't playing today, but they do have Oscar Tshiebwe. So if Miles Turner is out, I would expect Isaiah Jackson to start with Oscar Tshiebwe picking up most of that. They may still go small here and mix in some Obi Toppin there. Almost done. Let me pull up the box here. But yeah, Tyrese is fake. We've seen him listed for Q
Mhm.
really every game. We saw him hit 34 minutes last game, much to our chagrin, as we took a hook on a dimes line. And yeah, Nemhard's playing a ton. Ben Mathurin has not been right since he's been listed. They might even just sit him out to get him right there. We've seen Doug McDermott sneak in the rotation. We saw a little bit of TJ McConnell overlap in the last game. That was kind of new. So that would also be on the table if Mathurin didn't play.
Yeah, and should have noted, of course, Jalen Smith remains out too. So if
Yeah.
Miles Turner does miss, then yeah, Isaiah Jackson really could be set up for
Yep.
some big minutes. Okay, let's move on now to the Toronto side, where RJ Barrett is listed questionable and Jonte Porter is listed doubtful. What are your notes on Toronto?
Not too much. We've seen Barrett get this Q tag before. Been playing
Mhm.
a lot. We saw that double overtime. He got pushed up. Maybe that kind of aggravated some things. But yeah, probably go Bruce Brown in the spot. We've seen Bruce Brown not really play much. Been a lot of Grady Dick in the mix there. But yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. Matchup, obviously really good. Emmanuel quickly would get Andrew Nemhard on him, but that's totally fine. Scotty Barnes would get Aaron Neesmith, who's been, Scotty just got wrecked by Jeremy Sohan in the last game. So we'll talk more about that later. And then the other note is, man, Jakob Poeltl's ceiling's gone. They keep playing Kelly Olynyk, and it's really affected him. Matchups so especially if Isaiah Jackson, when he was starting, when Turner was hurt a couple years ago, even last year, and like he gives up fantasy goodness all day long because he overhelps much like Daniel Gafford does. So it could be there's a pretty wide range on Jakob Poeltl here. If he could kind of hit the nuts, he could turn in a pretty big game. But yeah, great matchup here. Should note actually, the Pacers defense has been significantly better. Just some notes to share that I wrote in matchups. So since Tyrese Halliburton's returned, their offensive rating has dropped by 5 compared to where it was before his injury. So that's a pretty big dip. And then also, they've been 21st in D rating since Halliburton returned, and they were kind of playing like 15th ish. So they're not playing like nearly as bad as they were when they were like last in the NBA. They're playing a little bit better defensively. So, and they're playing slower too. Their pace is also down. So the Pacers environments aren't as good as like the Hawks are like the environment. Pacers are still good, but they're not like Hawks good.
For sure. And one note I'll make too, you're looking at this boxer, Ochai Agbaji down there with 18 minutes, a very deceiving 18 minutes because first half he wasn't even really part of the rotation. I think he had 4 or 5 minutes or something, and then they kind of let him go in garbage, which was quite strange considering the trade they made to acquire him. So that'll be something I'll be looking for today is how if they do reintegrate him, but yeah, it'll be one thing to watch. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got the Washington Wizards at New Orleans Pelicans. Sorry, on the Washington side, Isaiah Livers remains out, and Kyle Kuzma is questionable with a non-COVID illness. Mike, what are your notes for the Wizards?
Yeah, late day Q, not great. We know if he missed, it would certainly be Bilal Coulibaly being inserted in the starting lineup. Definitely could see Kuzma missing. Pretty straightforward. We'd see more Kispert, more risk of blowout. And then maybe Jordan Poole could actually close a game or maybe get over 30. He's been running absolutely terribly right now. Tyus Jones coming off a career high 16 times. And as I mentioned, man, this Wizards team, can we get some Brian Keefe Coach of the Year love, man? He's turned this team around. Since Brian Keefe took over, they are 12th in half court D rating. They are taking away all the catch and shoot stuff. They're still getting killed inside. So like and I actually covered Boyd Zion, who's Q. I don't believe that Q tag. They can't score though. They're still 29th in offense, but they actually haven't had a bad blowout in 10 days, which imagine that. Like you couldn't go like a day without Wizards blowout. So minutes could be good. We'll see. Obviously Kuzma would change things. Should also note Marvin Bagley, 2 games ago, returning from injury. He was really capped. Keith said it was because of the matchup, and they just didn't want to go that way. But they went that way this time, and he played pretty well. So I think that I may call BS on that comment. I think he was just a little bit more banged up. They didn't want to go there. So, but yeah, I think Bagley's in an okay spot if they can kind of generate. Especially because if Kuzma's out, they can't go small. Like the reason why they play small is because Kuzma has the size. So that would actually be great for Bilal, who's also driving more and producing more on offense, but it would be really good for Marvin Bagley.
For sure. And you mentioned how they haven't really been blown out lately. I mean, if you look at these Denny box scores that he's given, it's hard to get blown out when you got Denny play like he has. So Yeah, you can see
Career
that
high.
team in minutes last game. Yeah, 25 points, 17 shots. He's just been great. And if Kuzma
Yeah.
misses, I mean, wheels up even more for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the Pelican side, where Zion Williamson is questionable for what feels like the 10th straight game in a row. Cody Zeller is questionable as well. Dyson Daniels remains out. What are your notes
Yeah.
for the Pelicans?
Yeah, pretty sure it's fake Q on Zion. I cover Boyd
Mm-hmm.
him. Hopefully, it doesn't bite me here. But yeah, I feel pretty good. The minutes have been quite strong. Obviously, you got the blowout concerns with this game being in the Big Easy. I think it was Mardi Gras. On Tuesday? So hopefully, nobody's was out partying or anything. So maybe take the under if you want to play that route. But yeah, anyways, not much to add there. Herb Jones crushing. He's been playing really well lately. And then Valanciunas minutes continue to lose to Larry Nance. We see some of those second half spot starts for Nance here, which would make some sense. He'll continue to start, but yeah, the floor can drop out. And then yeah, we've seen Jose Alvarado kind of lock it down since Dyson Daniels went down.
For sure. And even with Dyson Daniels out, Jordan Hawkins has not really made his way into the rotation. So it looks like they're good just going 9. Well, Dyson remains out with Jose being in there. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got Houston Rockets and Memphis Grizzlies. On the Houston side, Fred VanVleet and Cam Whitmore remain out. Tari Eason, of course, remains out. And Reggie Bullock is questionable. What are your notes for Houston?
Yeah, they're getting they're okay. Their spot. They're still missing Fred VanVleet, and one thing that I noted in matchups, they're giving up a lot of transition. They're number 1 in transition per game, but I just wanted to note that was quite surprising to see those transition numbers like jump up to like really bad. I don't know if it's a coincidence they haven't faced too many transition teams, but it was a stat that I just noticed writing up that. Injury wise, yeah, Ahmed Thompson just crushing on the glass, classic like hustle guy. 13 boards. He hits the O glass, and I think that's what I said. Why I think like Ahmed Thompson crashing the glass has like hurt their transition, which makes sense. That's kind of what I came to conclusion on there. Jabari, he's cooking. He's gonna have to guard Jaren Jackson this matchup, so pretty big foul risk there. We saw Şengün look fine from his back injury, and then yeah, pretty tight rotation here. Memphis is a disaster, but do they even need Dylan? Like Dylan Brooks has been playing really well, coming up with 23-point game. Do they even need him here? Like Memphis has no handling, so yeah. So we kind of have a good feeling. Jeff Green is picking up some pretty solid minutes. His minutes came down a little bit because Jabari kind of ran hot.
For sure, and like you said with Brooks, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little more motivated for this game.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Memphis. Yeah.
The Memphis matchup. And speaking of that, let's move on to Memphis, where the injury report is a disaster as usual. Usual suspects are out: Desmond Bane, John Morant, Marcus Smart. Scottie Pippen Jr. is now also out after he started last game, I believe. And Derrick Rose and Zaire Williams are questionable to make their returns. What are your notes on this mess of an injury report for Memphis?
Yeah, it's pretty bad here. So we saw Jacob Gilyard was an inactive last game for 2-way days, so he's probably back in there and probably starts. So we're gonna have mid 20s on him. Rose will probably play like 15 minutes if he plays. They should just sit him, man. Let him have the break to heal up. He gets hurt all the time. He's had a couple bad falls, couple scares that he avoided. I don't know. I think he sits. So yeah, we're expecting Jacob Gilyard to get the start after being inactive last game, and then obviously Conchar, Vince Williams, Jaren Jackson getting Jabari, bad matchup, and then Santi Aldama will probably have to have Şengün on him there. And then the next question is, what about the rest of these guys? Is Zaire coming back? Does he cut in Lamar Stevens? Commentary from Taylor Jenkins saying that they wanted to kind of split up the Lamar Yuta minutes. I don't know. So yeah, they could kind of get booted out of the rotation entirely here with some bodies back. But yeah, this seems terrible. I actually bet Houston minus 2.5. I just don't know how this team's gonna. I think I'm kind of buying Houston's defense, and I don't know how Grizzlies are scoring 100. So as long as Houston doesn't continue their dead last 3-point shooting, which they might, hopefully they win it 105, 100 or something like that.
For sure. And I also should have noted on them, Gigi Jackson. He missed last game because I think team discipline. It
Yep. Yeah,
was.
he missed. He violated. That's my bad. He violated team rules and
Yeah.
missed a game. Missed that game,
This.
but he'll be back in
Uh-huh.
full go here.
Yeah. So
Youngest
it
player in
just
the
like you
NBA.
said.
Give him a break.
Yeah. This backup between Lamar Stevens and
Yeah.
Yuta Watanabe. It's really a mess.
Yeah.
But
Actually, should also
anyway.
note they should one more thing to note. They
Mhm.
Jordan Goodwin, Trey Young just got fined 35 for. Anyways, Jordan Goodwin was not on the roster last game. He is on the roster today, so that could be another kind of wrench thrown in this. I wouldn't be shocked if he started. So just
Oh,
to kind of keep
wow.
an eye on that. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. It's Memphis,
Oh,
man. Yeah,
wow.
they're all
No,
bets are off here.
that's no. I never can be so certain of anything with Memphis. But
Yeah.
yeah, good note there. All right, let's keep going along. Next game, we got the San Antonio Spurs at the Dallas Mavericks. Relatively clean for San Antonio. Just got the usual Dominic Barlow Q tag for the G League. He was inactive last game. We'll see what, if he is active this game. They usually don't list it early. So I could think until tip, we'll be wondering, what are your notes for San Antonio?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So like we're always trying to find out if Barlow is active, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't really know because like if the game starts at like 0 o'clock, like 7 o'clock or something, well, no, because the injury report before he'll be out and be good. But when the game like today starts at 8:30, he won't. He'll be questionable on the 7:30,
Mm-hmm.
and then at 8:30 when the game locks, he'll get ruled out. So it's so stupid that like I'm like, oh man, San Antonio plays in the 30s. That sucks. Like we're not gonna know for sure. But anywho, yeah, not much to add. Like I said, really strong game from Jeremy Sohan, getting Scotty Barnes. He'll get the Luka Doncic matchup here, and I mean Wemby, going full white side. Ain't nobody doing it with blocks. Posted that was pretty good. And yeah, Vassell's minutes were holding up. They got blown out here. Just they did the blowing out. Excuse me. And then yeah, Keldon's kind of coming back to life. He's been flirting with 30 a little bit more. And then we're seeing, Blake Wesley play straight behind Trey Jones there. So we got a pretty, I don't know if you would agree, but one of the easier teams to do minutes on. I think that they've kind of got things pretty stabilized here.
Yeah, which is pretty surprising to say. But yeah, with your Keldon note, I mean, since McDermott has been traded, he's gone back into that upper 20s, but also really tells the story of the Keldon season where we're counting on McDermott trade for his minutes to bounce back.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll take it for now. But yeah, obviously 28 last game, good to see. All right, let's move on to the Dallas side, where we've got Luka Doncic and Kyrie are listed probable. Dante Exum remains out, and Maxi Kleba and Derek Lively are both questionable. What are your notes on Dallas, Mike?
Yeah, it sounds like we could get Lively back. We've got them. You did the first run. We adjusted them a little bit bigger. You had them, I think, at 41 big minutes. We kind of brought that to 44. I think there was a comment from Jason Kidd saying they look to play Maxi Kleba as more of a 4-man. So if Lively's in, we're projecting a Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, PJ Washington, who started and played all the minutes, man. Get to him in a second. And then Derek Lively, we think he would start, despite Gafford playing just absolutely revenge game smash. But that was the ultimate nut spot. Hopefully, Kid understands the context there. So yeah, and then we'll have Maxi as mostly a 4-man. Mentioned, Gafford off the bench. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes are pretty secure. He did lose a little bit of a rotation to Jaden Hardy because he played so badly in this game. And then we think one of Jaden Hardy or Derek Jones Jr. is going to go away. Airplane mode got turned off. Yes. You got all your, when you turn airplane mode off, the Mavs are getting like all their messages right now from turning airplane mode off there. But so that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, pretty surprising to see Derek Jones Jr. get cut down that hard. We had him, we were dinging him pretty good. I think we landed on like 17 and we still missed pretty bad. So, it could be a Kyrie spot. Definitely think Luke is good enough to torch Jeremy Sohan as well. And yeah, PJ Washington again, guarded Kyle Kuzma last game, guarded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 2 games ago, which we talked about on the podcast. So, I feel pretty good that this rotation will be, pretty high on the minutes. There is blowout, but no back-to-back for the Mavs, and we know that Kid won't mess around if the game is close.
For sure, and I'll definitely be watching this game closely to see how the rotation will go, consider this will be their first game with the trade guys and Derek Lively, assuming he does make his return. So definitely a team to watch for today. And then with that, let's move on to the next game. We got the Detroit Pistons at the Phoenix Suns. Also on the Detroit side, where they have not filed yet. They obviously played yesterday. What are your notes on Detroit?
Yeah, this is the flying blind portion of this show. But we have Cade in right now, but probably 50-50 he is going to get managed. We've seen him miss back-to-backs to this point. We saw even that one day they listed him as probable on Sunday, and they late scratched him after lock. That was a big pain in the ass. So think he sits, but the minutes were light. So maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. Probably getting a P tag, Q tag, whatever he's tagged with. Even if he's not tagged, like we're gonna be careful here. Like we're not gonna take Jay Navi unders. We're not gonna like there. It's just very weird. Trey Murphy, another example where like, oh whoops, he's back to back. We forgot to file. So, anyways, let's talk a little about the new starting lineup that they ran. They ran Simone Fontecchio in the first unit, but he did not hold up the minutes. We saw 2 games ago he had, I believe, 32 off the bench in his debut. He lost minutes too. Drum roll. Evan Fournier closed over him, or he was going to close over him had the game been close. That was a bit surprising. Evan Fournier said before last game that he wasn't promised rotation minutes. He was the first sub. So certainly Evan Fournier looks to be in a pretty good spot. This is a lot of garbage time baked in. Marcus Sasser dime fest early, had 4 dimes in like 4 minutes within nothing else. Asar Thompson's been pretty solid. He'll be guarding Devin Booker. And then, Jalen Duren, pretty decent matchup. We saw what Sabonis did to Nurk Daddy last night there. I think that mostly covers it. But yeah, keep an eye on Cade and maybe keep an eye on somebody else just because back-to-back here.
Yeah, for sure. Cade is one to keep an eye on because we've seen from them they haven't exactly been the greatest with the injury reporting regarding him. So that'll be one where up until tip we'll have one eye open. Let's move on to the Phoenix side where, as you said, big win yesterday against Sacramento at home. They still haven't filed. I believe they already said Beal will be missing. But
not officially, but he's out.
No, okay. Yeah. So assuming him out, but yeah, like you said, haven't officially reported. Yeah. What are your notes for Phoenix?
Yeah, Beal's out. Dealing with the hamstring. He's had hamstrings before. He's sitting out. There's no chance they play him here. So the question is, who starts? We saw Eric Gordon start the second half for him, but he lost minutes to Royce O'Neal after being, they were going to try to keep him in the teens last night. He was just too good. Hit one of the biggest shots of the game with that corner 3. His defense is pretty impactful. They went small with Kevin Durant, basically closed over Nurk and EG. We saw a bit of Nas Little. We saw some Okogie being sub-defensively in and out to guard Fox. Really, I mean, not just on top of the shot making. I mean, that was just one of Frank Vogel's best coach games, in my opinion. I thought he pushed all the right buttons. So just shout out to him. But yeah, Beal's out, probably no doubt for tonight. But how long after the All-Star break? This has run so bad. He's had multiple hamstring injuries, not just this year too. So Grayson Allen to the moon. Minutes are pretty strong. Devin Booker, I would keep an eye on Kevin Durant. Again, this is 13 and 14 points. A lot of big spreads today. They could just sit Durant. They don't need him, man. So they might start Royce in his place. They might start Nas Little. We saw Nas Little pick up second half rotation minutes. Also hit a pretty big shot. KD drew a double in the fourth quarter, kicked it out to Nas Little, and he made it a nice little 3-ball there. So, and then who knows? Maybe Eric Gordon gets listed. We've seen him miss back-to-backs in the last month or so too. So, yeah, maybe we see a David Roddy. Maybe we see a Teo Maladon. It's Detroit. Detroit's a good spot to rest, guys. So just to rank it, Beal for sure not playing, in my opinion. Kevin Durant will be next. I think I would go Eric Gordon next. And I think they're going to play, but they might miss. But, so that's kind of where we're at. But we'll see what the injury report looks like. We probably won't have that for at least another hour.
Yeah, tough break for them with this Beal injury. I mean, they'd finally been healthy, playing well, and then he goes down. So tough break for them. We'll see what they once they file.
Actually, I should bring up a note from Sir Swish, Weissman Masterclass. Monty Williams last night said they are going to continue to develop him. So do just want to note that there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to him. I think 25 points and rebounds last game or something like that. So yeah, we'll see there. All right, let's move on to our next game. We got the Los Angeles Lakers at the Utah Jazz. The Lakers have not filed yet, but LeBron James has already said he will not be playing in this one. What are your notes on the Lakers?
Yeah, probably getting the ADQ tag. Wouldn't be surprised if he sat too. I think they want to get this win though, so they were light yesterday, so you would think he's in there, but never know. And then who starts? That's the big question. I was really surprised to see Spencer Dinwiddie get 31. I was way off yesterday, but yeah, he was he picked up some pretty important closing minutes. They ran 3 guard lineups. Darvin Ham said afterwards they're going to continue to do that. So I wouldn't be like totally shocked if they just start 3 guards out of the gate. I'm still expecting Taurean Prince to start. So we're expecting D'Lo, Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Taurean Prince, and Anthony Davis in the first unit. And then we were running out of bodies here. So we threw like Maxwell Lewis some minutes, Dinwiddie upper 20s. We ran some Jackson Hayes overlap with Anthony Davis. They're getting pretty thin without LeBron and some of the other injuries on the wing. So Utah, horrible defense, especially against perimeter players. So massive spot for D'Lo. Could see Spencer Dinwiddie hanging a big game off the bench. Great spot for Austin Reeves as well. So Utah's really been struggling on the defensive end lately.
For sure. And yeah, just echo your thoughts too on these Dinwiddie minutes. I mean, just, first game, Ham just let him roll. Pretty big roll. So
he was handling, I haven't looked.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I haven't looked it up, but his handling role is really good. He had I want to say like 13, 14 drives, maybe, I don't know, but he was in control of the offense like a pretty good bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see. Expecting an AD Q tag as usual. And I think, we usually say Q tags are fake, but I think tonight's would maybe be a little more real, assuming he is listed with that Q tag. And then let's move on to the Utah side, where clean injury report, just the G League guys out. What are your notes for Utah?
Yeah, big one here is my guy, Keontae George, is in the starting lineup. Coach Will Hardy said it's time to start him. We saw elevated minutes out of Keontae George. Expect that to continue for the foreseeable future. I think he's starting pretty much every game. He is not injured or something, or unless he pulls a Gigi Jackson. So yeah, expect him to be in there. So I should have restarted. My computer's been on for like 48 hours here running with for this slate here. He's locked in. This is garbage time too. So he could have gotten like, we joke about Will Hardy being like the anti-Tibbs. He wasn't anti-Tibbs here, man. We were looking at some pretty heavy minutes here. So yeah, keeping an eye on the minutes. I think he's got like maybe 30. We would never ever put him like near 30. Even as we like barely put starters at like. Well, we put Colin Sexton, we'd run him at like 28, 29. Like Keontae in like a close game, he's got probably like a 31 like minute projection on him. And then Markkanen's minutes were good in a blowout. This starting lineup for sure is Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Walker Kessler. Still seeing Taylor Hendricks get in the mix. Taylor Horton-Tucker. Chris Dunn is going to keep his role according to Will Hardy, but it'll just be off the bench. So they're kind of just flipping those spots. But obviously Keontae getting the early start could kind of run some higher ceiling on him.
For sure. And like you've seen from this box score, excluding garbage, ever since that trade, they've just been rolling with a 9-man. And I would expect that to continue because, before the trade, Hardy was very set on getting 10 guys out there. But seems post-trade, he's set with his 9, with those starters, with Keontae, and then obviously Hendricks, Clarkson, THT, and Dunn off the bench. And Clarkson, too, has been, he was getting great minutes off the bench anyways, but it seems like 30 plus, maybe even more in the cards now, post trade with the 9-man. So that'll be interesting to see. And let's move on now to the last game of this monster slate. We got the LA Clippers at the Golden State Warriors. Starting on the Clippers side, Bones Highland, PJ Tucker are away from the team, and Kawhi Leonard is listed out. What are your notes for the Clippers?
Yeah, that came out of nowhere last night. I got some sweet Golden State +2. Hopefully, don't Miami me. But yeah, so I'm pretty confident it's going to be Amir Coffey getting in the starting lineup. Whenever really any of these wings miss, they just go to Amir Coffey here. So expecting James Harden, Terrence Mann, Paul George, Amari Coffey, and Mitsa Zubats. Zubats still on a minutes limit, but his minutes we have him projected pretty high. I think we have 25 for him. because I talk about this a lot. Whenever you lose Kawhi or Paul George, it's just not as advantageous to go small because you don't have the extra big wing depth. That said, they've closed with Coffee, a lot, even when they have these guys. So, I think that there's a chance that Zoo could get cut down to match up against the Warriors. And Lou has been kind of like mixing it up. He likes to, like, when you expect him to go big, he kind of goes small. When you expect him to go small, he goes big. So kind of unpredictable there from him. But yeah, expecting those guys to start. Pretty strong role, I think, coming for Norman Powell. Decent chance to close here. I think they're going to need the offensive firepower. Clearly unaffected by getting elbowed in the face by Jalen Duren. Had a bandage and ditched it, so he's kind of healed up, ready to go. Could see a decent bit of Westbrook to help the rebounding component there. But yeah, they'll pretty good spot. I should mention too, Paul George's minutes limit's basically gone. They got blown out in this game, but we see him touch mid-30s on the regular. I think he could be looking at a pretty good spot here. He'll be running into, I think Kuminga would guard him. Wiggins would get Harden.
For sure. And one thing I'll be watching for is this Amir Coffey and Norman Powell split because, we had mentioned on the show even that Coffey is really, you even look at this box score from last game, 26 for Coffey, 17 for Powell. Of course, you can see it was a big blowout, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just really let Coffey, get up there and Norm doesn't get as much of a boost as we usually expect when Kawhi is out. So while before when Kawhi was out, we kind of had a better idea. There's a little more uncertainty, I think, today at this spot with how much Coffey has just ascended and mostly at Norm's expense. So interesting one though. Like you said, they'll probably need Norm's offense. We'll see what they do there. Let's move on to our last team. We got the Golden State Warriors with a pretty clean injury report. We just have Chris Paul listed out. What are your notes for the hot Warriors?
Yeah, I'll point you guys to the podcast feed. You and I just covered this team on the pod on Monday or yesterday. I'm all messed up here. Just talked about how great they are. They're since Draymond Green's been starting, they're number one in defensive rating. They've been they're number one in half court. Their pace is up. Steph's splits are great. Steph is chucking. He's got 7 threes in the bag. I'm curious what his line is. His line's got to be 5.5 or more. He's just he's firing away. It's like 15 threes nightly. And if Steph shoots 15 threes, he's going to make 5 of them. So, yeah, kind of where we're at. Gary Payton will play low teens off the bench. Podzimski's minutes are pretty solid. Yeah, I don't really think there's much to say. This rotation is as solid as it's been and all season, no doubt. So, hopefully no one gets hurt. It feels like things are just right here. And then, yeah, no Kawhi is really big, but Kuminga's playing great. It's all just the vibes are good in San Francisco.
For sure. And like you said, too, just consistency from this rotation now. We know the starters. We know Podziemski's the sixth man. Then, after that, these secondary guys, I think Kerr just kind of, how guys are playing everything. But, the top, we know how it'll go there. And with that, 13 games down, less than an hour. Shout out to us, Mike.
Yeah, we did it. That's pretty pumped for it. This is going to be a chaotic day. I guess pulling up the schedule just to kind of run this. I just want to run this down. Talk through this madness we're going to have on our hands. Look at good group is sevens, good group is 730s, couple eights, 830, a few nines, and then an 8. Well, it's gonna be nice steady drip today, man. It's gonna be crazy. Appreciate. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I was just gonna add. The one saving grace we have on the 13 gamers, there's no more than 3 games locking at any particular time. So, on a slate like this, you can kind of take any win. So that's nice, at least, as opposed to slates where we have 6 games locking at one time and we're scrambling. But yeah, a lot of work to be done right after this, and last big grind before the break.
Did we miss Denver? We did miss Denver sack, didn't we?
Oh, did we? Oh my God! Yes, we did. All right, the show goes on. Let's do that. My bad there. Sacramento side, they haven't filed their injury report yet. Obviously, coming off a disappointing loss last night in Phoenix. What's your notes on Sacramento?
Yeah, thanks Ted for the shout there. Because on fan, I missed the Wizard game there, so appreciate the chat. Appreciate the chat there. Yeah, man. We saw Trey Lyles miss the last game for illness. We have him in right now. Definitely could miss. I don't know. We see teams like to kind of rest guys in Denver. That was like the Doc Rivers move back in the day. So I don't know. I think there's a chance there, but don't have too much besides we're projecting Trey Lyles in. Definitely could see him missing and could see some random rest here. Nobody really got hurt. Malik Monk, man, the take on the pod was quite good yesterday, saying that plus 140 was good. He's moved to like minus money now. I think Malik, and that's on. I think anything Malik Monk plus money 6-man is still good. Like he's way better than a coin flip to me. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. just doesn't have the juice to keep going here. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Don't really have too much to add there.
Yeah, agreed on the Monk point. I mean, no one. I don't think anyone's even really close to him is in the race right now for a 6-man, and just continues to crush. I mean, this streak of like the last 6-7 games just been really something for him. And one of these starters guys last game was Herder, who gets cut for him. So at any point, one of these guys, Monk could be coming for him for their minutes. All right, let's move on to now our official last game.
Denver.
The injury show, Denver, where injury reports pretty crowded. We got Julian Strother is Q, but doesn't matter too much. Well, Condavious Caldwell-Pope and Jamal Murray are listed questionable. However, I believe Malone said they're not expected to play despite the Q tags. What are your notes on Denver?
Yeah, I would say 0 chance KCP plays. Again, hamstring aggravated. Dudes don't play off aggravated hamstrings. Let them get the break to get right. Jamal Murray, we saw him listed with this tibia thing over the weekend. I believe they dropped the probable tag, but he was hampered the first time. Not great. Not a great matchups cover boy for your boy there. So yeah, we based on Malone's comments, I think they just set him out. We saw him, just get him right. So we have a projected starting lineup of Reggie Jackson, Justin Holiday, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and obviously Nikola Jokic. Colin Leslie ran the backup point guard stuff, so I'd expect that to continue. We've got most of them. I wouldn't be like totally surprised if they ran Joker point to like cut into Gillespie a little bit, but I think Reggie Jackson, who's played 30 minutes per start on the whole, I think he's got a chance for like pretty big minutes against Sacramento. Pretty good matchup for it there. And then just more Aaron Gordon could be helpful for MPJ. MPJ without Murray has kind of benefited. He benefits from when Jokic misses, MPJ doesn't really benefit because Jokic is so good at finding him. So it could be a pretty decent MPJ game. The Kings are kind of like okay at threes, but yeah, 2 pretty big injuries there. Thanks again for the chat for pointing out the omission.
For sure. Shout out to chat. And now we have gone through all 13 games. We had to, but this has been a lot of fun getting to join you for a couple of these injury shows. Like you said, most of my work has been behind the scenes to this point, but it's been nice to take a step back from that and join you on the shows. And one last one for me tomorrow on the DFS show with Gary Hartman. So
yeah,
looking forward to that, and that'll be a nice send off before the All-Star break for us. So thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate the support.
I could pop in there for a couple more promos. Just make sure you check out I think we're gonna do the pod feed tomorrow. It'll be me and Gary Hartman later, and then you and Gary tomorrow. My first time not hosting a show since Dink took his wedding time away. So I'm gonna miss it. I really like this doing the DFS shows. It's been a lot of fun. I didn't get the Flames yesterday. Kevin Durant ran a little short for the Flames. Shout out to Gary though. Gary planted Domantas Sabonis, who went just berserk. So big shouts to Gary. It'll be me and Gary Hartman again, just trying to fly through this slate today, man. It's going to be complete chaos. So yeah, if you guys are listening, appreciate you guys. If you hit the like button, it's going to be great. I'm excited for the break coming up. One more day after today. Everyone be cool. It's going to be a smooth sailing day today. So appreciate everyone. Thanks again. We'll catch you guys next time.